Hello! Many of you have been asking me to make videos on figures of speech and meters. So here I am with a video on 10 figures of speech. Let's first talk about accumulation. Before I come to the term accumulation, let me ask you, how has the lockdown been for you? What have you been doing? Well, I've been reading, I've been watching movies, I've been cooking, I've been chatting with friends. I've also been working a lot. I made a lot of videos. But life is not just the same. It's boring. Did you hear this conversation? That is accumulation. Didn't get it? Well, here is another situation. Boyfriend and girlfriend are living together. Boyfriend tells girlfriend, I can't do that for you. I have this football match to watch. And the girlfriend gets angry. I cook for you. I clean for you. I keep your room tidy. I even wash and fold your clothes. Sometimes I go shopping for you. And now you can't do this small favor for me? Oh, not all boyfriends are like that. Most boyfriends take care of their girlfriends. Anyway, that is accumulation. You're accumulating your problems or things that you've done, putting them all together, and it has a certain effect. It gives you a feeling of how much she cares for him. It gives you a feeling of how much I have been trying to spend my time effectively during the lockdown. So, accumulation is a figure of speech in which a list of words embodies similar abstract or physical qualities or meanings and are used with the intention to emphasize the common qualities that the words hold. I've been reading, watching movies, I've been cooking, I've been chatting with friends. All of these have some common qualities. They're all things that you do to desperately while away your time. It accentuates your feeling of boredom. Accumulation is a word derived from a Latin word which means pile up. This figure of speech involves repetition. The repetition must have a sense of adding on to a list and not simply repeating the same thing over and over. Accumulation is the part of a group of figures of speech in rhetoric called enumeratio, where you enumerate or you say things one by one. There are a group of figures of speech. There is a group of figures of speech which enumerates. Let us come to examples. This is from James Joyce's Ulysses. Rangoon beans, strikes of tomatoes, drums of figs, drills of Swedes, spherical potatoes and tallies of iridescent kale, York and Savoy, and trays of onions, pearls of the earth, and punnets of mushrooms and custard marrows. See, the list goes on and on. He is deliberately giving a long list. The intention is not to tell us that so many flowers and vegetables are there. But as the list goes on, you get a new feeling. These words and this list begins to convey other things. In the beginning, it's just a list of flowers and vegetables, like Rangoon beans, strikes of tomatoes, drums of figs. And again, accumulated different colors are also there, like red, green, yellow, brown, russet, sweet, big, bitter, ripe, pomelated apples. It gets a feeling. You get a feeling when you read it. This is from Henry V by William Shakespeare. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. In this excerpt, Shakespeare has gathered similar words for King Harry. Henry memorizes the name and nobility of the king by mentioning Bedford, Exeter, Warwick, Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester. In a modest proposal by Jonathan Swift, having no other motive than the public good of my country, by advancing our trade, providing for infants, relieving the poor, and giving some pleasure to the rich. This list actually shows us the condition that the country is in, which is no good. The public good of my country has to deal with advancing trade in the East, whereas in England there are infants who are not provided for, poor people who are not relieved, and rich who are indulging in pleasure. The list means more than that, and this is the figure of speech called accumulation. Winston Churchill said, your organization, your vigilance, your devotion to duty, your zeal for the cause may be raised to the highest intensity. Here there is a verse in the Bible. A generation goes and a generation comes, yet the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and rushes back again to the place from which it rises. The wind blows south, then returns to the north. Round and round goes the wind, on its rounds it circulates. What is this? This is an accumulation of the physical things of the universe, of the earth. Look at a passage from Cicero. He is the betrayer of his own self-respect and the waylayer of the self-respect of others. Covetous, intemperate, irascible, arrogant, disloyal to his parents, ungrateful to his friends, troublesome to his kin, insulting to his betters, disdainful of his equals and mates, cruel to his inferiors. In short, he is intolerable to everyone. You get a real feeling of how intolerable he is because of an accumulation of his vices. If you do not accumulate, if you just say one vice, or if you just say he is intolerable to everyone, nobody will understand. This is a great rhetorical device that the rhetorician Cicero had used. The second figure of speech we have to discuss today is adjunction. Something before I go on to the slide. Dear friends, good it is that you are enjoying this video. Good it is, I said. That is adjunction. That is not the normal sentence structure. It is good that you're enjoying the video. That is normal. I said, good it is. Did you get it? Adjunction is a phrase added to a sentence at the beginning or end. It can be a phrase or a clause or even a word. Look at examples. Fades physical beauty with disease or age. To put the word fades at first creates a special effect. It gives focus to that word. High, the bird flew. The height is stressed in that statement. That is an example of adjunction. The third figure of speech we have is Adnomination. Dear friends, we are living through the very hard times of COVID-19 pandemic. I wish somebody, somewhere, somehow will invent the COVID-19 vaccine. This is everybody's thought. Somebody, somewhere, somehow. That is adnomination. Some is a root word that is repeated for effect in different ways. Adnomination is the repetition of a root word with a change in letter or sound. Examples. He is nobody from nowhere and he knows nothing. The daughter tells her father, "Father, I want to marry this man I met in the street." And father says, "He is nobody from nowhere and he knows nothing. I don't want you to marry him." And the daughter says, "But that's okay. That's my problem. I will choose whom to marry." And the father says, "In that case, it's okay." How's the story? He's nobody from nowhere and knows nothing. No. That is adnomination. Another example. News is what somebody somewhere wants to suppress. All the rest is advertising. What you see in the newspaper is advertising. The real news is what somebody somewhere has already suppressed. What a great statement, isn't it? And very true. Somebody somewhere, that is adnomination. Will you get that right next time? Now we go on to the fourth term. That is alliteration. I'm sure everybody is familiar with it. Hey, before we go on to the slide, let me give you some tongue twisters. Are you ready to play? I will tell you a tongue twister. You have to repeat it 10 times very fast. Are you ready? She sells seashells on the seashore of Seychelles. Say that. Okay, another one. Go and gather the green leaves on the grass. You have to say that very fast. Go and gather the green leaves on the grass. Hey, these two sentences are examples for alliteration. It's difficult to say these sentences because in the first sentence, she sells seashells on the seashore of Seychelles. Hey, I got it wrong. Okay, let me give it another try. She sells seashells on the seashore of Seychelles. There, s sound and sh sound. Oh, I got it wrong again. There, in that sentence, s sound and sh sound are repeated. That is alliteration. In the second sentence, go and gather the green leaves on the grass. G sound is repeated. Alliteration is a stylistic device in which a number of words having the same first consonant sound occur close together in a series. You should have the same consonant sound repeating in adjacent words. It creates a musical effect. If you know, alliteration was the great device used by Old English poets. It creates a musical effect in the text that enhances the pleasure of reading a literary piece. Did you get that right? Now we have to come to the examples. But a better butter makes a batter better. Can you say that? B. A big bully beats a baby boy. B. The fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, the furrow followed free. We were the first that ever burst into that silent sea. This is from the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. We have repetition of f sound as well as s sound. A fair Let me repeat it. A fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, the furrow followed free. We were the first that ever burst into that silent sea. Do you get a feeling of isolation and silence and loneliness? It is not a happy line. It is not a happy statement. The effect is created by alliteration. Did you know in the Middle English period, there was the great alliterative revival from the Old English period? Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and the Vision of Pius the Plowman are examples of alliterative verse. More examples from James Joyce's story, The Dead. His soul swooned slowly. That repetition of S sound creates a soft, gentle, slow feeling. His soul swooned slowly as he heard the snow falling faintly through the universe and faintly falling like the descent of their last end upon all the living and the dead. Alliterations are with s sound and f sound in the phrases swooned slowly and falling faintly. Also, elsewhere. From William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. This is prologue to Act 1. The two foes are Montague and Capulet. From their loins have sprung Juliet and Romeo, who will take their life. And the next word we have to discuss is anaphora. This is a rhetorical term used in poetry. But there is another anaphora used in grammar. We're not talking about the grammatical term here, but in case you're interested, let me tell you about myself. Kalyani is a teacher. She does online courses. She also does classroom teaching. She has also done a lot of writing. She has written books and has become an author. I said Kalyani at first. And then I said she about Kalyani. The pronoun she that comes later refers back to a noun. That is called anaphora in grammar. There is also Cataphora. We'll talk about that later. Now, before we go into anaphora, the term in rhetoric or poetry, let me remind you of your college days. You have passed MA English and you have left your college, and years later your classmates you meet and they'll tell you, do you remember our college days? Those old classrooms, those dusty corridors, those huge trees that were all round the college, those steps to the library we used to sit on. Those things, do you remember? Did you notice that I repeated the word those? That is anaphora. The other day I quarreled with my son. I said, listen to me. I have to tell you something. I don't like the way you throw your clothes around. I don't like the way you come and have your food very late without letting me clean the table up. I don't like the way you sit up late at night. I don't like the way you play video games all day without working. Listen to me, son. You have to mend your ways. I repeat it. I don't like. That is anaphora. Anaphora is a deliberate repetition of the first part of the sentence to achieve an artistic effect. In literature, when you use it, it adds rhythm to the language. This technique also adds emphasis and unity to the clauses used in the language. As a rhetorical device, it is used to appeal to the emotions of the audience in order to persuade, inspire, motivate, and encourage them. Examples from A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. It was the times when opposites were seen together. It is repeated. Wordsworth's poem Tintanaby Lines begins, 5 years have passed. 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters. 5 is repeated at the beginning of each line, giving melody to the lines that matches well with its nostalgic tone. From William Blake's The Tiger. What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dead grasp? Dare its deadly terrors clasp? What? Repetition of initial word for effect. That is anaphora. From Richard II of William Shakespeare. This is a passage that also explains the term purple patch. John of Gaunt is describing England. This blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England, this nurse, this teeming womb of royal kings, this land of such dear souls, this dear, dear land. The repetition of the word dear, this, that is also repeated. See, this shows emotional attachment of the writer to the land. My life is my purpose, my life is my goal, my life is my inspiration. Another example. Okay, next. Hillary Clinton said, to raise a happy, healthy, and hopeful child, it takes a family. It takes teachers, it takes clergy, it takes business people, it takes community leaders, it takes those who protect our health and safety. It takes all of us. Wow. Anaphora. And the 6th term we have here is Antanaclasis. Antanaclasis. Have you heard this statement made by Benjamin Franklin? This was in relation to the independence movement or the Revolutionary War in America. He told his fellow men, we should all hang together or we shall all hang separately. We should all hang together. That means we should all be together. We should all be united. Or we shall all hang separately. That means we shall be hanged by the government. So the word hang is used twice in 2 different ways. Antanaclasis is a type of pun. To repeat a word or phrase, but with a different meaning than in the first case. Usually Antanaclasis appears in aphorisms and it creates a comic effect when used in the form of irony and pun. I can think of other examples. Hey, a rose is a rose is a rose is a rose. Every time the word rose has a different meaning. But it is also probably another figure of speech. PLOCE. Have you heard of that? It is the emphatic repetition of a word. The emphatic repetition of a word for effect. Dance the dancer. Another example. I am what I am. So, I talked about two figures of speech here, Antanaclasis and PLOCE. PLOCE, PLOCE. They're related. Antanaclasis is the repetition of a word or phrase but with different meanings. PLOCE does not talk about meanings, it is just the emphatic repetition of a word. Let us look at examples. Your argument is sound, nothing but sound. When Benjamin Franklin said that, at first, your argument is sound sounds like it is solid or reasonable. But then he says, nothing but sound. That means it's empty. And there is bars on the corners and bars on the heart. This is the drinking bar. This is heaviness in the heart. Viola and the clown are talking in 12th night. Viola is disguised as Cesario. Save thee, friend, and thy music. Dost thou live by thy tabor? Tabor is the musical instrument. Do you live by your tabor? That means, are you a musician? Do you live by making money with singing? Clown. No, sir, I live by the church. That's a pun. That is an antonomasia. Sorry. What was the word? Antanaclasis. Antonomasia is different. Antanaclasis. No, sir, I live by the church means I live beside the church, near the church. It can also mean I live by exploiting people. The churchmen exploit people. That's also the meaning. Viola says, art thou a churchman? She thinks he's clergy. Clown says, no such matter, sir. I do live by the church, for I do live at my house, and my house doth stand by the church. Antanaclasis has created humor here. More examples. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. The first time he means sleep. The second time it means death. Did you get that right? The next term is antiphrasis. Suppose in a WhatsApp group you tease a friend thoroughly. You pull his leg and tease him thoroughly, and he says, wow, thank you, I'm very happy. I'm very pleased by this attention that I got in the group. Thank you. Does he mean what he's saying? No. He doesn't. He's saying one thing and meaning another. There are many figures of speech like that. Antiphrasis means saying something that is opposite to the meaning of what you intend. I will tell you a little bit about my childhood. I was a very naughty child. And my poor parents had to thoroughly spank me almost every day. And then I would start crying very loudly, waking up my neighborhood. And my neighbors used to say, Kalyani has started singing. Our little Kalyani has started singing, they used to say. Do they mean I'm singing? No, they mean the opposite. So, antiphrasis is a word or phrase used in a sense contrary to its conventional meaning for ironic or humorous effect. It originated from a Greek word which means opposite word. In The Unknown Citizen, W.H. Auden says ironically about the common citizen who was so oppressed by the government that he did not live a proper life and now he's dead. And he doesn't even have a name. The government knows him by a number. He led such an ordinary life, colorless life, because that is the freedom we have in the society. That is all the freedom we have. We are not allowed to do anything creative. We are not allowed to question. We are not to do anything out of the way. He was married and added 5 children to the population, which our eugenist says was the right number for a parent of his generation. And our teachers report that he never interfered with their education. Was he free? Was he happy? The question is absurd. Had anything been wrong, we should certainly have heard. That means he was not happy. He was not free. Get in, little man, he told his fat old friend. That little man is Antiphrasis. And he's using Antiphrasis for body shaming. Fat old friend is being shamed by the word little. Don't say such things to fat people, old people, disadvantaged people. Respect them. Another example. I was awakened by the dulcet tones of Frank. Dulcet tones means melodious tones, but here the speaker is trying to use irony to indicate that the doorman irritates him. It is not melodious. Yelling, ringing the bell, knocking on the door. Filthy Rich by Dorothy Samuels. Home to Harmony by Philip Gully. Owen would just smile and eat his eggs and maybe reach over and slap Ernie's back and say, "That's really funny, Ernie. You're pretty clever." He doesn't mean that. All the while thinking to himself, "You moron, what do you know?" He's saying one thing, meaning another. Antiphrasis. I hope you got that one. 8th one is assonance. You can also say it is vowel rhyme. You talked about consonant rhyme before, that is alliteration. In poetry, alliteration, assonance, consonance, these come together. Consonance is repetition of final consonant sounds. Alliteration is repetition of first consonant sounds. Assonance is when there is internal rhyme in a word. A word rhymes by the second or third vowel, but whereas the consonant will be the same. There is in the movie My Fair Lady or the play Pygmalion a very famous scene where Professor Higgins is trying to teach Eliza to read a sentence. The correct pronunciation, Higgins tells her, "The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plains." The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plains. A sound, A. But Eliza is Cockney. And she reads it, "The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plains." And Higgins tells her, every night before you go to bed, you have to say this 50 times. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plains. There is assonance here. A sound. Rain and Spain have assonance. I am also reminded of W.B. Yeats's famous line in Sailing to Byzantium. That dolphin torn, gong tormented sea. O sound. That dolphin torn, gong tormented sea. Assonance takes place when two or more words close to one another repeat the same vowel sound but start with different consonant sounds. Examples. We light a fire on the mountain every day. Light and fire. I feel depressed and restless. A sound. He gives his harness bells a shake. to ask if there is some mistake. There is end rhyme, there is assonance, there is alliteration. They all together create a wonderful effect. More examples. Poetry is old, ancient, goes back far. From Cormac McCarthy's Outer Dark. This is Carl Sandburg's Early Moon. My aim is also to teach you some literature. Cormac McCarthy writes, and stepping softly with her air of blooded ruin about the glade in a frail agony of grace she trailed. See? The agony is created by the assonance. Do not go gentle into that good night. Of course, there is alliteration also. Old age should burn and rave at close of day, rave at day. Rage, rage, see? Rave, day, rage, rage, A sound. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight. See? Remember all these passages you have seen in the video? They're all very important. Not only the figures of speech, but the pieces of literature that I introduced to you are also very important. The next term is Cataphora. Cataphora. Suppose you visited me at my house and I gave you some very good mangoes to eat. There is a mango tree in my backyard. You loved the mangoes, and I tell you, listen to this carefully. If they would like it, take some for your parents also. I'm telling you. If they would like it, take some for your parents also. I'm saying the pronoun first, and parents, the noun, come later. Remember, I said this about anaphora. Anaphora is when the pronoun comes second, noun first. Cataphora is when the pronoun comes first and noun second. Cataphora is a literary device in which a pronoun used initially in a sentence refers to an expression or subject which is used afterwards. They comes first, parents come second. The effect is that the reader is put into a state of suspense because you don't know who I'm talking about. If they would like it, you're waiting in suspense. What? Who is they? Take some for your parents also. Comes later. Cataphora is the opposite of anaphora, which places the pronoun or proverb later. Cataphora derived from Greek. Cata means downwards. Both anaphora and cataphora are types of endophora. Cataphora is much less frequent in languages. Examples. After he had received his orders, the soldier left the barracks. He comes first, soldier comes later. Cataphora. Once it landed safely, the helicopter opened its doors. It comes first, helicopter comes later. Cataphora. If you want some, I've just made a fantastic loaf of banana bread. Some comes first, banana bread comes later. Cataphora. After she was assigned a number, the girl, she comes first, girl comes later. Again, it is cataphora. And the last term for today, are you ready for that? It is chiasmus. Have you heard this before? I met a man with 7 wives. What's that? I mean what I say and say what I mean. Have you heard that one? That's from Alice in Wonderland. What is common to these sentences? Fair is foul and foul is fair. Ah, you're getting it. Same structure, repeated. I mean what I say and I say what I mean. Alice in Wonderland. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Macbeth. One should eat to live, not live to eat. One should eat to live, not live to eat. Have you heard that one? It is from Moliere's play, The Miser. So this is like a crisscross. There is a structure in the first part of the sentence. It is crisscrossing and making a second part of the sentence. And the last important saying that I will tell you today, you can take the girl out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the girl. You can take the girl out of the countryside. Country means countryside, village. But you can't take the countryside out of the girl. Did you get that one? Chiasmus is a figure of speech in which words, grammatical constructions or concepts are repeated in reverse order, in the same or in a modified form. Examples. But oh, what damned minutes tells he's over, who dotes yet doubts, suspects yet strongly loves. This is chiasmus. Who dotes yet doubts, who suspects yet strongly loves. That's from Othello. Look at a passage, a line from Essay on Man by Alexander Pope. His time a moment and appoint his space. His time a moment and appoint his space. And this one is from Paradise Lost. In his face, divine compassion visibly appeared. And then he gives a chiasmus. Love without end and without measure, grace. Love without end and grace without measure. I think there are two figures of speech at work here. Love as if you would one day hate, and hate as if you would one day love. Bad men live that they may drink and eat, they may eat and drink, whereas good men eat and drink that they may live. That is from Socrates. I said this already. Moliere in The Miser said another version of it. One should eat to live, not live to eat. Do I love you because you're beautiful? Or are you beautiful because I love you? And more figures of speech will be discussed in our online video library. These are the figures of speech that are coming in our online video library. Please do watch them. Until then, bye-bye.